This is part one of my Egypt guide. I'm going to talk about Cairo and everything you can do and see there, including the Great Pyramids of Giza. But most important, I'm going to tell you what it's really like there. This is a no bullshit guide. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm not going to only show you these lovely photos and beautiful fantasy land that is Egypt. Because it is no fantasy land, let me tell you.
I'm the Mad Traveler. I am traveling the world, and this is my adventure.
The first thing you need to know about Egypt is that it's a shithole. The whole country is a shithole. Pretty much every city except for maybe Sharm el-Sheikh is a shithole. There are no beautiful cities. There are only some beautiful sites around and occasionally within some of the cities, but the cities themselves, there isn't a beautiful one in the whole damn country. And you need to know that now. Now let's talk about Cairo. Most of you are going to arrive at the airport. If you arrive at a bus station or a train station, you're pretty much on your own. You're going to have to find a taxi to your accommodation. But if you arrive at the airport, what you want to do is you want to have your accommodation arranged for a driver to pick you up. This is the best way to do it, especially if you've never been to the country before. I was staying at a hostel. It cost 75 Egyptian pounds. And I believe that if I got the taxi at the airport, it would have been at least 150, maybe 200 or more, something along those lines. There'll be a guy with a little sign standing outside the terminal. It'll have your name on it, and you just walk up to him, go to the taxi with him. Don't give him your bags. Don't be stupid like that. Just go to the taxi with him, and he'll drive you to your accommodation. And the accommodation should pay for it, and you should pay the accommodation. So don't pay the taxi driver there at the airport if he wants that. You want to do this because the biggest scams at the airports are the taxi drivers. Those guys are going to screw you, and you don't want to be screwed the first second you get to Cairo. Maybe 5 minutes later you will be, but not the first second. Now that you're safely in your accommodation, it's time to explore the city a little bit. I wouldn't do this at night. If you just arrive and it's nighttime, I'd stay in my hotel or my hostel and wait until the next morning. But when you go out, you're going to notice a couple things. First of all, everything is covered in dirt or sand. Mostly dirt, I found. The second thing is there are no stoplights or crosswalks. It is real life Frogger. And for me, as someone who was run over in Boston years ago, it was the most terrifying experience of my life. Moving on, you're in Cairo. You've made it across the street, you're feeling good about yourself, and it's time to see the sights. The first thing you're going to want to do is to go to the pyramids. But guess what? There's more than just the pyramids of Giza. There are many, many more pyramids. And a great thing to do in Cairo is to rent a taxi for a day and go to 3 different sites. Saqqara, Dashur, and then Giza, with the big famous pyramids that everyone knows about. Now the tour that I'm going to talk about is a pretty standard tour. Any hotel or hostel or your accommodation, whatever it is going to be able to set it up for you. And most hotels and hostels have a specific company that they always use, a specific taxi company to do driving for all of their guests. In my case, the hostel charged 250 Egyptian pounds, and I got a driver for the entire day. He picked me up in the lobby of the hostel, and he dropped me off there at the end of the day. The tour can last anywhere from 5 to 8 hours, depending on how much time you spend at the pyramids themselves. So, let's get started. You'll start probably at around 8 a.m. and you'll drive to Saqqara. When you go to Saqqara, what you're going to see is the step pyramid. It's really cool. It goes like this, like that. And it looks just like it does in the photos that you saw in history class. It's pretty darn cool. And when you're there, you're going to walk through the ruins of an ancient temple with the big columns everywhere. And then there are burial chambers on the side. And it's a really fun experience. And there's another pyramid right next to the step pyramid called Teddy, something like that. And that one just looks like a pile of sand. But you go down a shaft I think it was 20 meters, maybe 60 feet into the burial chamber underneath the pyramid, and you feel like Indiana Jones. It is so cool. There's also another burial chamber right there you can go into, and the burial chambers at these two pyramids, they have paintings still on the wall. I mean, it looks as fresh as it might have thousands of years ago. It's really, really cool. That's the first place that you go. Now you have to pay to get in there, but the amount is negligible. Maybe it was 100 Egyptian pounds or 50 Egyptian pounds, something like that. But now that you've heard the good things, let's talk about what it's really like when you're there. It is really like what I just described. But you also have what I have decided to call bakshish ghosts. So bakshish is what they say when they want a tip or they want money from you in Egypt. So bakshish ghosts, what you encounter here are the guys that'll try to give you a free tour. They just walk next to you and start talking to you and pointing things out and saying, do this, do that, go here, look at this, look at that. And then afterwards they ask you for money. So they're trying to guilt trip you into giving them money. Now, my taxi driver, he was a really nice guy, so he seemed, told me about these guys, said they're everywhere, don't give them any money. But when you actually go to the site, what you don't realize at first is that the guys that look really official and like they're doing a job that they should be doing for the pyramids are these bakshish ghosts. They wear gray tunics and a white little handkerchief scarf thing around their neck. They look official, they sound official, and they act official. And then, so you think that maybe you should give them money. No, they're bakshish ghosts. Don't give them any money. They'll try and guilt trip you into it. They will fake cry. Their little lip will quiver. Give money, please, please. Don't give them any money. They won't leave you alone. They will follow you. You just have to ignore them. And you need to know about them before you go or they will ruin your experience. Now the burial chambers. The burial chambers are awesome. And the bakshish ghost of the burial chamber, what he did is he tried to get me to pay to go into it. But there were 3 right next to each other. So I said nope and walked into the next one. I go into the next one. And you don't have to pay to go to these burial chambers. You've already paid to get into the pyramids. You're okay. He grabs my arm like that. It's not just like, oh, like that. He grabbed it and he said, pay. Now, I don't think this piece of shit realized that I'm 120 kilos, 260 pounds. I just look smaller than I am. And so the second that he grabbed my arm, he got a not so welcome response. The little motherfucker ran out of there faster than he'd probably ever run out. The sad thing is that that's what it took to get him to leave me alone. Is a little bit of aggression, maybe a little bit of violence. Telling him no didn't do anything. Going to the next empty burial chamber didn't do anything. Ignoring him didn't do anything. It was only when he feared physical danger that he left me alone. So that's what you have to deal with when you go to the pyramids. And you need to know that now, or it might just ruin your experience. When you go to the second pyramid there, the Tete one, where you go down the shaft, what the guy did there was actually pretty good. So he looks real and authentic and like he should be there, you know, with his gray tunic and white handkerchief and everything. And he sees me walking alone. So he knows that I don't have a tour guide to protect me. So he walks up to me and tells me that I have to pay to go to that pyramid. And he did it in such a convincing way that for a moment I thought I might have to pay to go. But I'm thinking, no. I already paid to get in. This is bull. So I waved my finger at him, and you just treat him like a child. So sometimes you have to treat him with violence. Sometimes you treat him like a child, and it works. And when he realized that I knew what I was doing, I didn't actually, but I just looked like it, he left me alone. So he tried to get me to pay extra to go in, even though I'd already paid. And the Egyptian people that run the organization from the government or whoever that run the pyramids let these bakshish ghosts hang out in their pyramids to screw the tourists. What shit, man? It's such bullshit. So that can really ruin the experience for you. You need to be ready for it. You need to have your buffer up so that it doesn't ruin your experience. Know that it's going to happen and try to ignore it. Because the pyramids were awesome. Now that's the first set of pyramids. And that was my first experience with the bakshish ghosts, but not my last. The next set is in Dashur. The funny thing about it is it's right next to a military base, so you can't take pictures from certain angles or you get into trouble. But the cool thing about the pyramids there in Dashur is that it has the bent pyramid, the one that goes like that, and then like that, where they corrected the angle for the top half. There's nothing to really do there. You can walk around the bent pyramid if you want, but you have to bribe the security guards in order to do that. And bribing there is totally normal, by the way. It's not even remotely hidden. It's just a regular thing. So there's the bent pyramid. In the background there is what's called the black pyramid, but it's basically just rubble now. Not even very interesting. And then you've got the red pyramid, which was sort of, I guess, the first time that they were able to make a pyramid that was perfectly like this and looked really good, and the Giza pyramids were modeled after that. But the coolest thing about the red pyramid is that you get to walk halfway up it, about 60 meters or 180 feet, and then down a shaft another 60 meters or 180 feet underneath the pyramid into the burial chambers. If you didn't feel like Indiana Jones at the Teddy Pyramid, you will now. It is so cool. You feel like a mummy is going to come out of one of the corners and just attack you. It is awesome. It was the coolest pyramid experience I think I've ever had. And when you're down there, there's probably going to be no one down there because getting down that shaft is a bit taxing. So you're alone underneath the red pyramid. It's so cool. And when you get out of the pyramid, out of the shaft, you make it out. There's only one bakshish ghost, and he's pretty timid. He only asks for money once or twice, and he kind of leaves you alone when you say no, so you don't have to worry about him. But when you're done seeing those pyramids, it's time to head to Giza, the place with the big pyramids that everyone knows about. Now, have your driver stop off for food on the way, because you're going to be pretty hungry at this point. And on your way to Giza, you'll notice a few things. So Giza is, I guess, a city that's next to Cairo. It's in the greater Cairo area, and it's basically a ghetto. All of Giza is basically a ghetto because that used to be the big floodplain before there was a dam on the Nile in Aswan. So it's a really just scary, horrendous looking area. And then you get to where the pyramids are, and they're just these magical things in the middle of what's kind of a ghetto. But when you get to the Pyramids of Giza now, that's where you have to prepare yourself for two things. Either the coolest experience you've ever had or the lamest. And being scammed. The biggest scams in Egypt, except for maybe the Nile River cruises, are the ones at Giza. But let's talk about the positives first. The Giza pyramids, I thought they were just magical. It's the coolest thing ever to just stand there and look at these magnificent things that were built thousands of years ago. And nothing, certainly nothing in Egypt that was built in modern times can compare. Not even close. And they used to be lined with granite, and you can see the granite stones that have fallen off around the pyramids. It's a really awesome experience. Now, there are a couple different ways to see these pyramids. You can go in the front entrance, or you can go in the back entrance. First, I'm going to cover the front entrance because that's where most of you will probably go. Now, the front entrance is the main entrance to the pyramids. That's where you'll buy your ticket and you'll go in and you'll start kind of your pyramid tour. Know that when you go in, you're going to walk past lots of vendors, and they're going to be very annoying. If you have a woman with you, please put some blinders on her to save yourself hassle. They will be annoying. They will hassle you. They will probably not be as bad as the bakshish ghosts at Saqqara, however. So just walk through them, go to where the Sphinx is, you'll get your photo with the Sphinx and the big pyramid in the background, and it'll look really cool. There will be guys trying to take photos of you with your camera. Don't let them do this unless you feel like paying them a bunch of money. Take a selfie, bring a selfie stick, or look for a tourist who looks like they come from your part of the world, or who you can clearly identify as a tourist, and ask them to take the photo for you. But don't give your camera to a local. It's got to be the dumbest thing you could do. Now, once you've taken your photo there, you're going to want to get closer to the pyramids. You can actually walk up to and even on all of the pyramids. No one in Egypt actually cares. But on your way there, you're going to encounter the camel and the horse renting people. And they will all tell you this: you can't make it by foot. It's too far. It's too far. You have to rent the horse and the camel. It is not too far. You can get all of the best photos by foot and walk to the best viewpoints within probably 30 minutes if you go the farthest one out. So if you think you need a camel because you can't make the walk, that's bullcrap. They're lying to you. You can make it. The only reason you should get a camel or a horse is if you want to get a photo with one. If you want to get a photo with one or just have the experience of riding a camel around the pyramids. That's the only reason. Now, renting camels and horses are the biggest scam, especially the camels. There are two types of scams. They'll either charge you way too much, and maybe they won't hassle you. That was my case. Or they'll offer you a really, really low price, like 20 Egyptian pounds, and then you get to ride the camel for 10 or 15 minutes. And then what they'll do is they'll extend it out to 30 minutes, take you out really far, and then make it so that when you come back, they said, oh, I said 15 minutes, and you ended up staying on it for 45 minutes, so now you have to pay me 200 Egyptian pounds, or 1,000 Egyptian pounds, or I won't let you off the camel unless you pay me an extra 150 Egyptian pounds, or I took photos of you, and I'm a professional photographer, and I went to school for this, and I spent a lot of money, and you need to pay me 150 pounds for taking the photos for you, Egyptian pounds. So those are the kind of scams that they will have there. And the camel is really, really, really high up, much higher than a horse. So I wouldn't really recommend jumping off of it if they tell you that you have to pay them to get down. Now that's what you experience if you go through the front entrance. If you go through the back entrance, well, your experience of getting scammed is going to be a little bit different. So I went in the back entrance. How it happened was like this. I'm with a taxi driver. We've been together for maybe 5 hours now. He seemed like a great guy, answered all my questions, stopped everywhere I wanted to take a photo, got me some snacks, stopped for food when I wanted it, stopped for sunscreen when I wanted it. Just seemed like an all-around great guy. Seemed like he was going to take my side. And he always works with my hostel, so I feel like he's going to do a good job because he wants to continue the business. So he tells me he's going to help me negotiate the price for the camel, because I tell him I want a camel ride. Now he says that he's on my side, he's going to help negotiate the price. He tells me I should probably take the longer camel ride, because I'm only going to be there once, so I might as well go for it, which is a recurring theme. They all say that. And then, when I get there, what happens is I end up at some camel stable, not next to the entrance. I don't know where I am. Just a bunch of camels in the middle of this square, and then this office, and I go in this office, and it's me, and the taxi driver, and the Egyptian guy, and he shuts the door, and there's no windows or anything. He gives me the price, and then I looked at my taxi driver to say, like, oh, is that a good price, or what should I do? Taxi driver is just playing games on his phone. Doesn't help, doesn't even speak, doesn't even look at me, and so I'm just stuck there. I don't know where. I don't know if there's anyone else that I can use to compare prices with. And so I just take the price the guy gives me, which was 340 Egyptian pounds for approximately 1.5 hours. They said 2 hours, but it was 1.5 hours on the camel. Now, I know that was way too much. I should have paid no more than maybe 150 Egyptian pounds for that. Maybe even 100 is probably the accurate price. If I knew then what I know now, I would have negotiated it down to 200 Egyptian pounds with ease. The benefit of paying so much for the damn camel ride is that my tour guide didn't charge me extra for taking photos, didn't try and hurry me. He let me ride the camel kind of where I wanted to, and took lots of extra video of me for this blog deal, and he was generally a pretty nice guy, and it didn't seem like he was trying to scam me, well, because I'd already been scammed. I'm here to tell you now that if you pay more than 200 Egyptian pounds for a camel ride, you are majorly scammed, even if it was for 2 hours. But just know that they're going to scam you there, and know that whatever price they give you is not the final price, no matter what they say. You are in control, not them. You can leave. If I was to be in that situation again, and he quoted me 340 Egyptian pounds, I would say 120 or 100. I'd start at 100, and we'd finish somewhere around 200, give or take 20 or 30 Egyptian pounds. Some other things to note: you can go down a shaft into the burial chambers in the large pyramid, I believe, and that's, I think, 200 extra Egyptian pounds, something like that. But if you did go to Saqqara and Dashur, there's really no point in doing that because the burial chambers are going to be relatively similar and you've already had your Indiana Jones experience and all the cool stuff has already been taken out of it for the most part. Also, you can stand on the pyramids if you want. When I was there, lots of people, all local Egyptians, I must say, were standing and jumping on the pyramids and sitting on the pyramids and having lunch on the pyramids and climbing on the pyramids. So the funny thing is that though you may hold the pyramids in high regard and they may be sacred for you, especially all of you Western Europeans, they're so special, well, Egyptians don't give two shits about them. Every Egyptian I met has climbed up to the top of them. Half of them did it and had some beers or were drunk or high at the time. They don't care. People just throw trash everywhere. And by people, I mean the Egyptians that have come there. I didn't see any actual tourists from outside of Egypt throwing trash on the ground. But the Egyptians just throw their trash everywhere. They don't care about any of it. So if you're worried that you might be desecrating the pyramid by climbing on one stone and getting your photo taken on it, you are not. The other cool thing that you can do is they do have a light show at the Giza Pyramids. You can go there at night. And I did find that to be awesome. Now my hostel charged me way too much for the taxi ride, 150 Egyptian pounds there and back. But the show itself was really, really cool, and they light up the pyramids, and it's blues and greens and reds, and the Sphinx as well. That's a pretty cool experience to do, but it's not life-changing. If you saw the pyramids during the day, you don't have to go out of your way to see them at night as well. But I did think it was a pretty cool experience. Everything you see after this is just going to be on a level so far down here compared to the pyramids. So once you've seen the pyramids, to be honest, you can leave Cairo and you won't really be missing out on anything. But there are a number of other cool things that you can do in the city if you want. I gotta say, seeing the pyramids was maybe the coolest thing I've ever done. Unfortunately, you have to put up with the bakshish ghosts and the scams. And that really sucks. So if you're planning on going, just know that beforehand. But in the next part to this guide, I'm going to talk to you about the other places that I went in Cairo and the other sites that I saw, and what it's like to visit them, and what you need to watch out for, including the police. Now, if you also visited the pyramids, tell me what your experience was like. How was it for you? How much did you pay for a camel ride? Did you get scammed? Or are you one of those lucky, rare people that didn't encounter a bakshish ghost or a scam? Make sure to subscribe, rate, comment, and stay tuned. There's more to come.